the wood at the moment to share our experience at the University of Bari with the experiences in teaching innovation with the Wikimedia projects. I will talk with Ferdinando Traversa, who is going to introduce himself now.
Hi everyone, I am Ferdinando Traversa. I'm also from Bari, in the southern region of Italy, Puglia, named Puglia. I'm the local coordinator for Wikimedia Italy, the local Wikimedia chapter for Apulia, and I hope you enjoy our presentation. Thanks.
I'm Andrew Kryzhanovsky from Russia. I'll talk about Wikiversity and using Wikiversity and Wikipedia in education, and how to make interesting research in Wikidata with the help of students. And the last report will be from Nebojša, who is a program manager at Wikimedia Serbia. Thank you. Okay.
Stella Gatto, and I teach English linguistics and translation studies at the University of Bari in the south of Italy. In this talk, Ferdinando Traversa and I would like to share our experience with projects that exploit the multilingual environment of Wikimedia projects from the perspective of translator training and in the context of modern language education. Our projects, which are basically under the title Translatathon Uniba, were all supported by Wikimedia Foundation or Wikimedia Italy, and will be discussed in the first part of this paper from the academic perspectives in terms of teaching innovation, development of generic and specific skills, and the contribution to the dynamics of knowledge dissemination. Then, in the second part, the perspective of the Wikipedia community will be presented by Ferdinando, a Wikipedian, as well as our regional coordinator for Puglia in Wikimedia Italy. And now, we all know that in the academia, Wikimedia projects have long been regarded with a certain kind of prejudice, unreliability of content, anonymous authorship, cut and paste materials for our students, and also more recently also with pride, because they are a challenging teaching resource and a promising environment for collaborative knowledge building. Now, as far as translation training in particular is concerned, there is an interest in projects which are labeled as teaching translation via Wikipedia, which seem to address a strong felt need for innovative teaching methods based on authentic tasks, that is, real-life translation projects carried out for the benefit of real people and intended for use outside the translation class. Furthermore, research in this field has proved that there seems to be a convergence of interest and a synergy between translator training and translation studies in general and the Wikipedia community, with mutual interest in the two communities for sharing resources. And is in mind, since 2018, we have been running the project Translatathon Uniba, which has been recently acknowledged university credits as part of the teaching offer at our university, while greatly contributing to the development of a comprehensive translation competence by facing our students with useful real-world translation tasks. Wikipedia-based translation projects also contributed to the development of digital and soft skills, also known as transversal competencies in the Italian academia, thus representing a particularly appropriate offer for a generation of learners that has been identified with the so-called digital natives, whose fluency in ICT is in fact more assumed than test, as the recent COVID-19 emergency has revealed. So now, by way of example, I will show you some results from our first Translatathon, that is a translation marathon, which was about sustainable development. The task was basically either integrating Italian articles that appear to be much shorter than their English counterpart, like, for instance, sustainability or Millennium Development Goal, or the translation of English articles with no Italian version, like, for instance, impact of microcredit. I'll take the Italian page Sostenibilità as a case in point. Before our translation marathon started, it was a very short compared to the English page Sustainability. In these two slides, you can see the differences. At the end of the project, our students have created a a page that was totally similar to the English page, sustainability, both in length and in layout. Needless to say that they felt that they have contributed to the spread of knowledge in this key issue in contemporary society, and they felt that they are shared their translation competence for a common good. A second experience is the Wiki Grand Tour, Wikivoyage to Puglia marathon, which was held during the second Italian lockdown in November and December 2020. Following in an intensive writing workshop held by an English professional travel writer, currently working for Lonely Planet, our student completed a number of articles on both traditional and non-traditional tourism destinations in Puglia, writing Wikivoyage articles from a local perspective. I would like to stress that writing articles from a local perspectives may be seen as a contribution to the development of a more sustainable tourism, where the insider's view makes itself heard in a foreign language for a wider audience. And finally, the most recent experience was aimed at contributing to the dissemination of knowledge in the medical field, which is one of the most important concerns in the Wikipedia community at the moment. Our AMA students who specialize in medical translation as part of their curriculum have been running and have been working under the supervision of teaching staff, professional translators and medical students to translate articles from English Wikipedia on a variety of medical issues. Of course, not all that glitters is gold, and Ferdinando can help us understand also why. And nonetheless, we do think that organizing projects of this kind is worthwhile for students, for university, and for Wikipedia itself. It was a real-life experience in translation. It was an opportunity to integrate key competencies with new soft and digital skills. Writing skills, soft skills, problem solving and teamwork. And it was also a real contribution to the multilingual nature of Wikipedia. And finally, a real contribution to the dissemination of knowledge. And I will now leave the floor to Ferdinando to share the perspective of the Wikipedia community.
Our commitment as a movement is to enable individuals to participate in the collective building of knowledge, and this is what we helped students do throughout our projects. As Maristella said, we have worked on Wikivoyage and Wikipedia. I'd like to show you an example of what the students did during the projects, working by themselves, but obviously with our guidance. This is the article about the Tremiti Islands, here in Puglia, before the students had greatly increased its content and after they did so. On the other hand, this is an article from the Medical Translatathon project on the Italian Wikipedia, which was translated from scratch, as there was no other Wikipedia article about such kind of illness. I'd like to highlight that these projects also included some theory lessons and workshops about some particularities of the topics we worked on, and apart from the standard university syllabus, in order to get overall better results. For instance, in the Wikivoyage project, we worked with a Lonely Planet tourist guide specialist, Duncan Garwood, and we gave lessons on tourist guides in general, in addition to the specific Wikivoyage rule set. Working with Wikimedia projects and knowing how things are done in general has also given the students worthwhile competence to be exploited in the future. Turning to the students' reception, they were indeed very amused and interested by the concept of using their competence for the common good, and practicing what they had learned during university lessons, with the 80% of them being overall satisfied with the projects. Our projects have indeed been really participated, and therefore have given Wikimedia projects a lot of new editors. 180 students took part in the Wikivoyage project, while 100 were involved in the Translatathon about medicine. We are also very proud that they have engaged a less represented group in our movement, with the percentage of women being respectively 91% and 77%. Nevertheless, a part of the students found some hurdles, in particular with the understanding not only of the complex editing mechanism, but also our community dynamics. When the students saw that others could edit their work, they were completely astonished. Anyway, the community reception has been great. I am an experienced Wikipedian myself, and we worked with other Wikipedians and Wikivoyage editors, such as Kodas, who I'd like to thank again. Furthermore, this also represented an opportunity to explore the technical and structural differences between articles of different editions of the same projects, namely Wikipedia and Wikivoyage. Properly adapting all the templates, the references and the technical stuff was particularly difficult to the students, and therefore a significant request from them was more time to learn how to handle those things, which we have been increasingly granting during the various projects. In addition to this, many students agreed and confirmed, and this is a real satisfaction for us, that university outwork with Wikimedia projects and said that projects had indeed been very worthwhile for them. What we, as the organizers, have found difficult was defining the area of intervention and finding the articles to edit. The job was made a bit simpler by the many tools that the Wikimedia community has to do so, but manual work to filter and choose is always required. Moreover, even if the most of our work is online, being in the same room cannot be replaced by online video conferencing, so our tutoring work was made fairly more difficult. Last but not least, a thing that we are still doing and that requires a lot of work and time is reviewing and fixing everything, in particular wiki text, style and actual content. If you are planning to organize activities with Wikimedia projects, you must do so. You can't just throw everything into the main namespace and then hope that the community fixes everything, otherwise they and I will be really mad at you. Thanks for your attention. Now I'd like to give the floor to Andrew.
Hello, I'm Nebojša Ratković, Education Program Manager at Wikimedia Serbia. During this presentation, I'll point out the basic things of our education program that were affected by COVID-19 pandemic. At the beginning, I'll show you the timeline where you can see that we held the last workshop only 2 days before the declaration of a state of emergency in our country and the closing of the schools. The next workshop was scheduled a few days after that, which is why we had to react quickly and plan activities accordingly. Our response was that we contacted the professors in order to plan the workshops by giving support to the teachers who had to start working in different circumstances and by providing solutions that could help them in that. First, we sent them brochures and instructions on editing Wikipedia and plans on how we could organize online workshops. We provided specific suggestions on how we could use the Zoom app and Hangouts. These suggestions were more difficult to understand for all the teachers who had not met them before. However, when they accepted them, we did not have any major difficulties in the implementation. For those teachers who were not sure that they could ensure that the participants would follow the workshop, and at the same time, we created a recorded workshop on the PlayPosit app. It was a very useful tool that encouraged the interactivity of the participants who had to give answers to questions during the video in order to continue to watch it. Also, we could track those students who watched the workshop. At the end, we used one important resource, which is our partnership with institutions that deal with the professional development of teachers. They organized online trainings to build teachers' capacity during the pandemic. These trainings were very well attended, so we held a seminar about the use of wiki tools for measuring students' achievement. The seminar was attended by over 200 teachers. The results we obtained this school year were more than satisfied as they exceeded our expectations. We have surpassed the performance of previous school years significantly. Last year, Wikimedia Serbia organized the first online EduWiki Camp, a 3-day event that was held on October 24, 25, and 31 through the Zoom app. The camp gathered students who were interested in actively contributing to the development of education program of Wikimedia Serbia. During the program of the camp, participants had the opportunity to learn how Wikipedia can be used as a teaching tool. Working together in a team spirit, they upgraded their knowledge that helped them improve their communication, writing, negotiation skills, etc., which they can use to achieve cooperation with professors at the faculties or other educational institutions. The online EduWiki Camp is the first event of its kind, considering that Wikimedia Serbia has organized offline camps for the past 5 years. Encouraged by the new health situation and taking care of the health of the participants in our projects, we decided to use new technologies last year and to hold a camp in an online environment. This year, we will organize an online Wikicamp again. We hope that we will, more than ever, bring together participants who are motivated to learn and improve their skills despite the obstacles and challenges that are currently imposed on us, just as we are motivated not to miss the opportunity to organize a Wikicamp again this year. Regarding our future plans, we will work further on organizing more seminars that will empower teachers to use Wiki tools in teaching. Given that we expect the preparation of a new accreditation with the Ministry of Education in the months ahead, we plan to accredit an online seminar that would be suitable for organization the pandemic continues. We will also consider the possibility of organizing offline accredited seminars in schools, respecting all the measures prescribed in the country. In addition, we will, where necessary, make special materials that will facilitate the work in case of pandemic continues for a longer period of time. In addition, we also organized a celebration of 15 years last year since the beginning of the education program in Serbia in different way than we expected through the organization of editathons, media promotion, etc. In this photo, you can see the awarding of certificates to the students who participated in the project during the previous semester, the mathematical grammar school, and how it looked like. They do classes in such a way that half of the class is present at school and the other half follows the classes online. Classes were held in compliance with all prescribed measures, which we also complained with during the awarding of the certificates. The project in which these students participated was about the writing articles about Canadian mathematicians. Thanks to the English teacher who led the project, representatives of the Canadian Embassy in Serbia became interested in this project, which can possibly open us new possibilities. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I'm at your disposal.
My very dear friends, I'm glad to tell you about my work with students in Wikipedia, Wikiversity, and Wikidata. You can use this short link in order to access this presentation online with active links. My name is Andrei Kryzhanovsky. I'm from Russia. Moscow is the capital of Russia. There are institute and university in Moscow where students work with Wikipedia and write articles in Wikipedia. In the northwest of Russia, there is Karelia, and the capital of Karelia is Petrozavodsk. And my university is Petrozavodsk State University. I teach the subject Internet Mathematics, and my students, about 10 years, research and edit Wikipedia and other wiki projects, Wiki News, Wiktionary, Wikidata, Wikiversity, and Commons Wikimedia. Translating a good article is much easier than writing from scratch a good article. Together with students, we took from English Wikipedia good and featured, that is, high quality articles from English Wikipedia and translated these articles into Russian Wikipedia. And we took articles related to computer science. You can see the list which contains 33 of these articles, which were translated and written during 6 years. If you want to use Wikipedia as a teaching tool, I recommend you the article written by George Konechny. during your lesson, you can use small assignment, for example, add a reference for one statement, or you can use a large assignment per month. For example, write an article during a semester. Our methodology, our idea is to split the complex, big work to write one article to 18 more simple and small tasks. And first, the student need to search a literature to create a section references. After that, the student draws and creates figures and animations. For example, you see the animation for the article about Turing tests invented by Alan Turing. After that, student should do the routine work, categorization and wikification. After that, students review the article written each other. After that, peer review performed by wiki editors. And you can see the whole list of tasks online. Therefore, during the semester, one student writes, translates, and writes one article in Wikipedia. This methodology was published in the form of textbook in our university. This book about writing articles by students with the help of the teacher. And since this book has open license, so translators are welcome. The student is a researcher, so we have a problem because in Wikipedia no original research is permitted. But Wikiversity saves us because it's possible to make and publish original research in Wikiversity. Over the past few years, we have been editing Wikipedia less and less. Wikiversity is getting more and more our attention. We started in Russian Wikiversity the course Programming Wikidata and translate this course into English Wikiversity Research in Programming Wikidata. How we work with students in our course. And first, together with student, we select a Wikidata object. For example, sheet or bank. See a lot of different available objects. After that, we make the most interesting part. We invent which computer problems could be solved using Wikidata related to this object, because different objects have different properties and different tasks could be invented. After that, we write some programming code in the form of Spark scripts and solve these problems. Then we get some visualization. For example, you see the map of neighbors of Russia by number of sister cities, and upload these images to Wikimedia Commons so that after we can include these images into our articles in Wikiversity. And student create quiz. It's a question with several possible answers. It's a technical possibility in Wikiversity. You can look at one of quizzes. You see the fragment of the article in Wikiversity where the student solved the task, the problem of searching the neighbor's country of Russia by number of sister cities. You see several objects and several properties used in this problem. The code, Sparkle code, in order to search these countries, and the result in the form of the map with colored countries. In the last year, I worked with 6 students, and every student wrote an article, research in Russian Wikiversity, translated it into English Wikiversity, and wrote a text in LaTeX format, contributing to our book Programming Wikidata for Youth and Students. And I hope that every year we will add more materials to this book. If you're interested, welcome to look at the very first draft of this book by this link. I hope I was able to show that Wikidata is a great research material for computer science students. Now is the best time to show the difference between Wikiversity and Wikipedia for students. These two projects develop very different skills in students, fantasy and creativity in one, and accuracy and correctness in another project. Therefore, let's use both projects in the educational process. The last and most unpleasant slide. Nobody knows about Wikiversity, at least in Russia. We need a huge investments for the development of the project. MediaWiki software is insufficient for creating of engaging educational content for kids. Like Wikidata, the Wikiversity project requires the development of specialized software. Thank you for your attention. We are ready to answer to your questions, please. I hope somebody saw our reports.
No, neanche lo lascio. Così se cambiamo idea, però per ora.
If we have some time, I want to say several words about after Ferdinando report and Maristella, my experience about work with students in command or in personal work. Several years my students work one student to one article, but I tried to organize and propose a big complex article to several students, and the result was not very good, and it was a bad experience. So I think that the best solution for future is to use only one article for one student. What is your experience?
Would you like to answer, Maristella?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I got the question right. You had problems when you tried to divide the same task to several people, is it?
Yes,
what you were saying?
Yes, it's a big article which should be split
Yeah,
into several
yeah.
sections, translated.
Yeah, we had a similar problem with translation in the first Translatathon, because we created individual sandboxes, because this is the policy in Wikimedia as far as I know. And so we had individual sandboxes, and they were all moved. What was done individually was done in sandboxes, and it was then finally moved to one new article altogether. So you didn't merge everything first. We only did it at the end, because for us it is really important to have the opportunity to revise the work that is done by the students, because this revision with translation is part of our task at the university. So this was one of the solutions we found. Probably Ferdinando can say something else about the Translatathon, the new edition, but we had a similar problem. And on the other hand, it is difficult to find articles of the right size for translation, because, of course, sometimes the most interesting ones are the longest one. So, Ferdinando, will you add something to answer this question?
In the first Translatathon, people disappeared, and so we had a problem also because of this. But merging the sandbox is a bit complex, but is the only mean we have also to avoid edition conflicts when working simultaneously. But provided that people don't disappear, working with multiple people that work, having multiple people that work on the same task is fine. But it depends on various factors. The most important is people's commitment.
I saw some course for students in Singapore in English Wikipedia, and I saw that the comment from several students successfully write some article, but I see that not our case. And another problem is that very often students, a lot of students, make work only at the very end of the semester. So they already don't have time, and I have idea, very simple idea, how to struggle with this. If you split your work to several parts, and each piece of work have its own deadline, so the student have to do in time this small piece of work, so we not so difficult for me as a teacher at the end of the semester when I have to control and make too much work for one people. Maybe your students have the same problem.
Yeah,
it's a huge organization problem that could be addressed in different ways. Anyway, I see that there are a lot of questions from the audience. They are in the Etherpad, or I'm posting them also in our chat here on StreamYard. Okay. Let's start with the first. Ferdinando, did you consider Wikisource at any time? But I think that also Andrew could answer if you want.
I see.
No, we didn't consider Wikisource for this kind of project because it involves transcribing, which is not one of our primary goals, while making that the students practice translation or writing in the language they are studying, in our case English, is way more important than transcription. But I acknowledge that Wikisource is a wonderful project, and it could be used in other situations and in other kind of partnerships with academic institutions. Our situation is a bit different. What about you, Andrew? And Maristella, if she wants to add something.
No, you're right. What you said is fine.
Mm-hmm.
So, Andrew, any thoughts on Wikisource?
I don't say about Wikisource because for me, Wikisource is a place to store some books, documents, maybe even program code, and I can't imagine which interesting work, not routine work, I can propose for students. But I have some experience to work with students in Wikinews, in Russian Wikinews. For example, the task was write some interesting contemporary news, short but interesting, for this project in Russian Wikinews, and it was really very difficult for student write in clearly understandable Russian language what's happened, because they try to describe something very complex, and when I ask question what this mean, what it means, what this means, and it was very good experience for student how to shortly write interesting texts. So I think that Wikinews, it's a good place not only for journalists in university, but for any students and maybe even for schools. My idea.
Okay, okay.
And of course, the good place to learn more interesting is the Wikimedia Commons, because in order to write good article in Wikipedia or in Wikiversity and maybe in Wikisource, the student should understand what is license, what type of licenses are, and in our course, one lecture, I explained what kind of open licenses exist, and we train with students how to upload images to Wikimedia Commons.
Okay, I think that there are also other questions that are useful to talk further about this topic. And there is another question then. How do you educate them about Africa, as there seems to be a lot of misconception about the continent? I don't think that educating about various topic is one of the goals of our projects. So educating about Africa or educating about other things is not one of the goals of our projects.
Maybe it could be more wider questions. What you talk to students when they see some errors in Wikipedia?
Can I answer?
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
We had a similar problem with translatathons about medical articles, when there was some kind of mismatch between the English version and the Italian version. The link was not a good one, and also sometimes they, while reading the English text, they noticed mistakes. Some of them made research on the specific topic. Everything is done in an academic context, so they asked the professors to make sure that they had seen that what they had seen was a real mistake, and then tried to fix the mistake in the translated version. They didn't touch the source text, but in the new version, in the translated version, they tried to correct the mistakes. So they didn't feel bold enough to correct the source, but they actually felt ethically responsible for the target text.
And eventually we will get them also to correct directly the source when they feel they will feel ready to do so. And do you want to say something about this topic, or can we move on the next question?
about question, how do you educate the students on copyright issues? I post in the private chat. I hope Mike published this link to slides. Sorry, in Russian, partly in English. The special lecture for students about what is copyright, which licenses are compatible with Wikipedia, and some example of copyright tasks. For example, this sculpture, this monument was created in this year. The creator of this monument died several years ago. In which year this sculpture in Russia, this monument in Russia, this building in Russia could be photographed and uploaded to Wikimedia Commons. That is, some mathematics related to copyright issues will help students to understand the problem of copyright questions, which differs in Russia, in France, in other countries, and all this information is important for students because they, of course, use YouTube, other social network, and upload their images. So it's important for them to understand what they can upload and what they cannot. Thank you.
We have highlighted that the copyright should be respected by all means too. So we have talked about the licenses to our students, and we have taught them how to respect copyright. Also, in with original, both with original content and in translation. So adding the appropriate link in the page, the edit object and the appropriate templates in the page talk. So I think that Maristella left us probably because of technical issues.
I want to answer to the questions. What are your challenges in carrying out this project? If you want to teach students, then if you know, as say, Konechny, if you know how to work Wikipedia, it's very plus for you. And another problem that if you assign task to write article in Wikipedia, then this is task different for every student because every student take new article, and it means a lot of work for you as a teacher to control and to help students. So you cannot, I cannot ask 30 or 50 or 100 students to make this work. I can take up to 10 students to write good or not so bad articles during one semester. Thank you.
I think that we have talked about the challenges we have faced doing our projects enough in our presentation. So I think that we can move on also because we have only 2 minutes left. I think that we skipped the question, which is experience of students when they discover projects that are not Wikipedia. And in our case, they have been really surprised by the fact that there's not only Wikipedia. And they actually enjoyed working on Wikivoyage, which is the sister project that we have worked on. And they were happy to discover that there are also other projects which are not the main project that everyone knows, which is Wikipedia. We have only 1 minute left, so Andrew, if you want to say something about this topic.
I want to say thank you for your attention. It was very interesting to work with you, Ferdinand and Maristella, and I hope we will see you and other participants in next year. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Maristella, and thanks everyone for following us. And I hope to see you soon too. Goodbye.
Bye.